Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back this time around in Freakier Friday, returning to their characters Tess and Anna, who had an identity crisis 22 years ago in the original Freaky Friday, a film that I absolutely grew up with. I had an absolute blast with. I still love revisiting, and I gotta say, Freakier Friday I was a little bit nervous about going into this. The trailers looked fun, but still, can they amp up and bring back that same love? And I gotta say, a little disappointed in Freakier Friday. I think it's overall a mixed bag. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today we're discussing Freakier Friday. It takes place, of course, 22 years after Tess and Anna had gone through their identity crisis, and Anna now has a daughter and a soon-to-be stepdaughter. But as they navigate the challenges that come when two families merge, Tess and Anna discover that lightning might strike twice. Now, again, very, very excited for this movie, mainly for the fact of how much I love the original one. But I have a lot of hope for this one. And part of me was like cautious optimism on this because the trailers looked fun. But originally this was supposed to be on Disney Plus. Now, I'm happy that Disney decided to not make this just go straight to streaming, just as they did with Lilo and Stitch. This is a film that should have been in theaters. Same thing with Lilo and Stitch, and look how much money Lilo and Stitch made. This is something that helps keep box offices alive. Now, is the quality of Freakier Friday Disney Plus kind of sometimes? Yeah, sometimes you can feel that. But that's actually like not the issues that I have with the movie. And we're definitely going to talk about those issues very soon. So definitely leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button. And with every movie review, I actually like to start with my pros first. The things that really stuck out to me on why I think this film does work on its counterpart. Because even though while this film didn't live up and have the most fun that I thought it should have, still had fun with it for what it was. That's why it is overall a mixed bag of sorts, which my biggest pro for this is Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. They are having such a ball with this. And the fact that now they're playing like ninth graders instead, I think adds a whole other tension. And I think for me, they have not skipped a beat. I love that they get to play around with this whole entire new feeling, and the fact that now this body swapping is now with 4 people instead of just 2. I think adding that flair into a sequel, not just going bigger for the sake of going bigger, actually adds a lot of emotional weight to the heavier moments in this movie and actually are the stronger cases for that. The other piece with that is it also adds a lot of fun, nostalgic charm into the fact that Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are playing, again, ninth graders. You look at Julia Butters and Sophia Hammonds, who are supposed to be playing Tess and Anna as in their younger bodies. I thought they did a great job as well for the material given to them. And I think, again, these are the elements that work, especially because of the heart that you're very much looking for at the end of the day with this. And I think just as the original was a movie for mothers and daughters, this is kind of a similar thing and a structure here as well. And I really, for the most part, think the performances are the reason that this film actually sticks out the most, and their charm and their chemistry is what really throws it out there too. Again, do I love everything that they made the characters do? No, we'll talk about that in a second, but I overall, for the most part, had a ball with them. And speaking about another character I had a ball with, which is Manny Jacinto, who plays the soon-to-be husband to Anna Coleman. And I gotta be honest, I thought Manny Jacinto was phenomenal in here. So charming, so wonderful. And for me, I've only really ever seen him in Star Wars: The Acolyte, which he was the main standout in that entire series. For me, it's the same thing here. I think he is just so damn charming that it's hard not to fall in love with the guy. Getting the performances out of the way, the other thing, of course, is the concept of it's all the body switching. As I mentioned, I think it's really cool that they didn't just double down and go bigger and bolder for the sake of it. No, it actually has a story meaning to it as well. And I think that's like the thing that actually works for this film is actually the heart of it. Just as the original film, like once they start to see eye to eye and start to understand, like when they walked in the other person's shoes, that is another case here when they start to walk in the other person's shoes as well, is the fact that the heart that they really come and hanger. And the fact of the heart that they actually really start to linger on, especially towards the end of the movie. I would say about the midway point to the ending, once they actually started to fine-tune and hit those points and actually make the characters understand where the other people are coming from, I think that's where it actually did. And I actually thought it to be actually pretty clever on how they were actually able to bring that about, because obviously Sophia Hammond switches bodies with her soon-to-be step-grandma. For me, I didn't know how that was actually going to play out and how it was actually going to work. But in the end of the day, when it comes down to heart and meaningfulness, it actually was a smart choice from the director and writer to actually do that. A lot of callbacks, a lot of fun nostalgic charm to the original one. And for me, I got a kick out of that. Whether it's cameos or other just little tidbits that kind of play back towards that whole entire lore, it works for a fan like this. And again, if I was someone who was ready to show their son or their daughter this film, this is probably going to be something that strikes a little bit stronger. I can't imagine mothers that grew up with the original Freaky Friday now being ready to show their daughter this movie. That might be even something that's a little bit stronger on that part, and I can imagine that's probably going to hit some people in a really emotional way. I kind of want to start segueing to my issues with the movie because, again, this is a pretty straightforward film. This isn't going to be the world-destroying movie that if it sucks, it's going to ruin film going for you, and it's also not a film that if it was amazing, it's going to absolutely blow your mind. It's not one that I expected to do. I expected to have fun with this, and I had fun with it with some caveats to how frustrating certain elements of this film were. First off, the ADR in this film is abysmal at times. There are times where someone is talking, and you can clearly tell that that is not what they're saying. Or even vice versa. It's the back of their head and their mouth should be moving from the side and they are not talking. I do not understand the choices of those and some of the choices of the shots, specifically in the editing department, why those were made, but it really kind of threw me for a whirlwind of how badly made the film was at times in terms of an editing and an ADR style. The fact that my sister noticed it, who is not into filmmaking. She liked the Garfield movie of all some sorts. She still liked this movie more than I did, but those little things did stick out to her. And if it stuck out to her, and it stuck out to me, I can't imagine how many movie-going audiences are going to really stick out to that and be like, huh, this looks a little off. My other biggest gripe with the movie is two things for the story. One, actually, I guess three. Well, one, and this might be my biggest gripe, is how mean the daughters are to the adults. Like, genuinely, some of the stuff they do in here, I'm like, that takes it a little bit too further outside of the realm of comedy for me, that sometimes it wasn't funny with what they were doing, even though it was supposed to be funny, at least for me, because it was kind of messed up. I never felt that Lindsay Lohan's character in the original film ever did something so traumatizing to ruin, like, her mother's career or ruin, again, the wedding of all sorts. It just struck me, but and tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious to hear what people think about that. Two things was the way that they swapped this time, I was not a fan of. I actually thought it was kind of cringy, and I think a lot of that kind of goes through the humor, which I'm going to segue to in a second, but I think it also took too long. I really liked the simplicity of the original film and how it actually worked, and I think it honestly worked again here. But my last and not least is like I talked about, some of the humor in here is not good. I think some of it drags on a little bit too long, in particular the body switching sequence, which when you see it, you'll understand. It feels kind of like what they were trying to do with like Hocus Pocus 2 or Disenchanted, which are two films that I think, again, are fun and have their audience for what they are. But this is, again, one of those where it's like, you watch it and you're like, what are we doing with these like longed out sketches? It's just a little weird to me. And some of the humor is a little bit too pop culture heavy for me, which made me just roll my eyes here and there. And that's where it kind of makes me go off to say that Freakier Friday gets off to a very rough start with some clunky editing and a messy setup. But I honestly thought that once the body swap kicked in, it actually really finds its groove. Fully agree with everything that they are doing with the characters, and sometimes I feel like it's a little bit too mean-spirited. I think it still has its laughs. It definitely still has its heart, and it absolutely has that nostalgic charm that I do think in the end of the day captures the spirit of the original, which is the most important part and what most people are going to be looking forward to this. And I think the biggest charm of seeing this movie is because you get to see Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis back together at their best, and I think they are phenomenal in this with their comedic timing. So for me, Freakier Friday is a mixed bag. I left this movie a little bit disappointed, wishing I would have had more fun. I know some people might be like, well, why are you caring about that? This is just supposed to be a fun movie. I get that, but once one thing sets off, it just continues to uphill and go down until it just grows and grows and grows and snowballs into a giant snowball effect. So with all that said, I'm going to give Freakier Friday a 3 out of 5. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts, and of course, until next time, stay classy.